At this point, you should be remoted into a vhost and have your Windows ISO sitting right on the desktop or anywhere that's available to the host. I'm going to go ahead and create a new virtual machine to host my Team Foundation server. In Hyper-V Manager, go ahead and create a new machine. We're going to click through this really quick, so we'll just call it something meaningful like TFS Demo. Hit Next. It's a Windows Server guest OS, so we can use Generation 2. 1 gig of RAM is not enough for a Team Foundation server. That's barely enough for SQL Server Express to run with. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it 8 gigs of RAM. I'd suggest at least 4, but with 4, I've observed that it's not very responsive, so I'm going to go ahead and give it 8 here. It needs to have a NIC because it's a server. 127 gigs is fine, and we're going to use the installation media that you downloaded. Go ahead and click Next and Finish. There's one other adjustment that we're going to make here. We're going to give it 2 CPUs. At least 2. I'd give it whatever you can afford here. We use 4, and it works pretty well that way. Now go ahead and connect to the virtual machine and power it on. The process of starting the virtual machine and connecting to it, sometimes it takes a little longer than the virtual machine actually takes to boot. So sometimes by the time this connects, it's past that press any key to boot from a DVD screen, and it'll start trying to boot from other sources. It might be on the Pixie boot process. If that's the case, go ahead and restart the machine. All right, I made it. Then go ahead and start the Windows setup. We're just going to keep clicking Next until we get everything installed. I'm using the licensed version of Windows, so I'm going to go ahead and put my key in here. And for simplicity's sake, we're going to set it up using the desktop experience. I accept and Next. And we're going to do the custom install. Where to install Windows, you can go ahead and click Next. This is just going to create the one partition, just to make things simple. The installation process will take about 5 minutes, and then the machine's going to restart. Once the machine's restarted, you can go ahead and start setting up your administrator account. And log in with that account. The first time you log in, it's going to take a few minutes to build that profile. All right, when we finally get logged into the server, this networks dialog pops up. Go ahead and click Yes, and you'll be in the server manager. Since you're already here, the first thing I like to do is go ahead and give the computer a meaningful name. So it'll say win some stuff. Go ahead and change that to something useful. In this tutorial, I'm not going to set it up on a domain. It's going to be standalone, and I'm going to use local user accounts. But you can go ahead and attach it to a domain and use domain accounts instead of local user accounts. It's going to tell you need to restart. We're going to do that. We're going to change this first. So we're going to go ahead and allow remote connections to this computer, and we're going to deselect the network level access requirement. You can go ahead and change that back later, but for simplicity in setting that up, that's what I'm going to do here. And we're still going to restart later. Before we restart, I want to set up some user accounts. So go ahead and right-click the start icon and go to Computer Management. And we're going to go to Local Users and Groups. You should have your administrator user here, and we're going to go ahead and add 2 more accounts, a regular user account and an administrative account. So go ahead and do a regular user account. And then we're going to do an administrative account. So we've got our two accounts now, and we're going to go ahead and make this one a member of remote desktop users so that we can remote in. That'll change to the computer name once it restarts. And then we're going to go ahead and add this one to administrators. So now that our accounts are configured, we're going to go ahead and restart that machine. Okay, once your machine's restarted, we're just going to go ahead and close everything out off this vhost and log out. Well, disconnect. And go to a new remote desktop connection, and we're going to connect to that server using that local account. Go ahead and select Don't Ask Me Again so you don't have to see that over and over. And now we're logged into our new server with our regular user credentials. So what I'm going to do is take our TFS installation media that we created earlier and copy it onto this machine. Now the server is ready and has the TFS media available. In the next video, we'll install TFS and get it to the point where you can access the web UI. Thanks for watching.